Hi guys, so I'm going to show you how to make a rumble bass for techno. So first things first, I'm going to show you that I've got a 909 kick drum, and as you can see I've applied some processing to it, so I'll solo it with what I've made. Then I'll just mute the hearts. So this is a really simple to make rumble bass. So all I've had to do is get a kick drum and I've applied a reverb on it. That is the long and short of it. I would probably say like 90% of rumble basses are made this way. So if you listen without any of the processing on, so I'll just turn everything off and I'll explain why I've applied it. So solo it. So as you can hear, it's just a standard 909 kick drum. So what I do is I apply this reverb, and this reverb adds, if you imagine, normally with reverb you're just trying to add it there, so it just adds a bit of space to a sound. And normally people say not to add reverb to kick drums, but within techno it's about pushing the boundaries. So by adding reverb to a kick, you can play about with the sound and you can try and make it sound how you want it to, opposed to just trying to follow some kind of rules that someone else has set. And if you listen to a lot of techno that's been done today and even in the past, a lot of people will just use reverb to create the bass layer of the track. So if you listen to this 909 kick with the reverb on, so I've made it quite wet compared to being dry. Sometimes it sounds a bit better when you have this lower down, but it's not always something that's needed. You know, it doesn't need to be that way every time. It just depends on the context of the track. So really play about with these settings. I would generally cut the high end off and roll it down so it's kind of like a low pass filter, and that way you can kind of make the sound a bit darker and a bit more in the bass end of a track. And then what I've also done is I've added an EQ on here, so if you listen without and with, and all that's done is I've cut the super lows off so that it's not going to make the low end frequencies just basically destroy your master, because you want to always make sure you high pass the low lows, like anything below 20 Hz, because it just basically destroys your mix. Then I've also done a little scoop under the low mids, and that always cleans up the sound generally. I've also added a compressor, so I'll let you listen without, with. As you can hear, it's just added that bit of punch. So because the reverb kind of smooths out the sound, what I've done is I've made it so I put this compressor on. The compressor makes the actual kick drum punch through, so that you're not just getting this like flat sound. It kind of brings up where the initial attack comes in, just brings it out so it punches through in the mix. And that's it. That's literally how you make it.